everybody. It is Thursday night. I almost said Tuesday night. It's Thursday night at 6:30, and this must be the Soul Space because I am in the Zancuda Soul Space saying hi to all you folks. So how is everybody tonight? Sally and I are hysterical laughing. We're trying not to laugh on camera because
it's amazing what can take place in 3 minutes in a radio station. Different chairs,
Sally and I could build a house.
makeup.
Sally and I could build a house in 27 seconds. No.
Seriously.
Really.
Before I started working here, I had no idea how much could get done in 42 seconds.
It's amazing. It's amazing. No, we're laughing because so far I broke my finger and
it's been so long in those 3 minutes I forgot about your finger breakage. Like really, like the blue purpley bump.
Yeah. And it's my
hurt.
middle finger, so like I can't like flip the bird to anybody in traffic on the way home tonight, so that could be a problem. But no, not that I do that anyway. I'm an angel. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Let us know you're here on Facebook, and I'll be watching the comments during the show so that we can get you on. We also have a call-in number, which should be on the screen, but sometimes it's hard to see if you're on your phone. So what is that call-in number, Sal?
It is 516-465-3990.
Good, because some people were watching on
Do you
their
have the phone
phones.
lines open?
I
Or you want
do.
to do that in a little bit?
I do have the phone lines open because you can interrupt me anytime tonight. Tonight we are going to actually talk about the sky's the limit. And I want to talk about goals and, accomplishing things that you really set out to accomplish in your life. I have been very blessed with some really good goals that I have actually met in my life. I can't toot my own horn, though, because most of the goals that I've actually accomplished have been because along the way I've had some great teachers and I've had some great life hacks and some tricks that people have told me. And also, I always pursue knowledge. I'm really like a self-help groupie. So I always get these great aha moments. I actually had one this week that I'll relate at the end of the show. But so for those of you out there who have been really, making goals and maybe they're just still out of reach for you, or maybe you want to make newer goals and you've accomplished the things you've already set out to do and now you're on your next level, this show's for you. So the first thing that I want to talk about is one of the things that I'm really big on is visualization. And I think I've talked about that on the show a lot. I visualize, especially before I go to bed at night. And that sets the tone for your subconscious and your dreams and things like that. So usually before I go to bed, I always try and picture my ideal life, or even in meditation, if I meditate before bed especially, I try and picture whatever I really want and the ideal of that. And not only do I try and picture it and visualizing, because visualizing is such a strong tool, but I actually try to experience it like it already happened. If I'm trying to meet a business goal, I consider it already done. And, as I'm in that kind of semi-conscious state where you're almost falling asleep and it becomes real almost, if you do that over a period of time. If I'm trying to do something about my appearance or materialize something in a physical manner, I can feel it. I can know what it actually feels like to touch it. I can, really idolize and visualize the actual goal happening. And at first when you start to do that, it feels a little awkward and it feels more hopeful than it does belief. But as you do that more and more, it becomes belief. And whether you realize it and you're conscious of it during the daytime in your daily life or not, it goes in a place in your brain and in your subconscious where it does motivate you and propel you. It almost becomes like an unforeseen force, that invisible force that you don't see, but that's really pushing you forward in your life to meet your goals. And so I just wanted to put that out there in the beginning of the program because I may keep coming back to that. But of course, I never really know where the program's going to go. And I never really know what we're going to end up talking about. So, hey, call in. Tell me your experiences. If you're having trouble meeting a goal, I'll try and give you some advice about it. Maybe we'll pull a card if we're so inclined. So the first thing, just like a couple weeks ago when I did the show about law of attraction, and I kind of said, well, there's some homework we have to do before the law of attraction comes in because we have to kind of prepare ourselves and be the right mindset to attract, things and be positive and use the law of attraction in our life. It's the same thing with goals. Before you can even attempt to accomplish a goal or, wanting isn't enough. I've been a realtor for 25 years and there's a lot of people who want to buy a house. That doesn't mean they can buy a house. Doesn't mean that they're able to buy a house. Doesn't mean that they're strategically placed or in the position to buy a house. And it's the same thing with goals. Wanting something is not enough. It's part of it. It's an integral part of it, but it's not enough. The very first thing you have to do is change your limiting belief system.
Change your what?
Limiting belief system.
Limiting. Okay.
Limiting. So a lot of people don't know what that is. And I didn't a few years ago. And then I had this epiphany. And I was actually attending a Tony Robbins event. And they had a speaker there. And there was, they branch off. People are trained by Tony. And they branched off. And I had paid this exorbitant money to be in a room with 20 other people and basically be tortured where, you're going to walk on hot coals and break boards and things like that. And so there was this guy, I don't even remember his name, but he was the instructor, and he was talking all about this thing called limiting belief systems. I think this was in like 1995. And I didn't really understand what he was talking about. And then he started talking about how a limiting belief system is something we put on ourselves, or that we're conditioned to believe, our parents live a certain life, or we're brought up in a certain economic environment, and we just assume that's our economic environment. That's our life, If you're born in a blue collar family, a lot of times that's really all you aspire to. Or if you're born in a certain religion, that's all you ever aspire to, because you don't come out of that box. And that box is a limiting belief. It doesn't give you the motivation or the inspiration to ever be anything more than whatever your box is. And there's nothing wrong with the box, but for somebody who doesn't want to be in that box, that limiting belief system will often hold you there. So this was a completely new idea and train of thought for me. And I realized that the limiting belief systems I had were my motivational enemy. And that no matter how hard I tried to overcome and get to some of my goals, there were limiting beliefs in my life playing a part and holding me back. So the first thing you have to do is change those limiting beliefs to unlimited motivational energy.
Can you give an example?
An example would be, suppose somebody is really, really smart, like in a scientific way, and they want to be an astronaut, right? Or they want to work at NASA or something, and the space program. But they grew up and their father was, I don't know, maybe just a common laborer, or maybe their dad was, somebody who just worked in a factory and went to work every day at 5 a.m. and came home at 5 p.m. and worked 12 hours a day and lived for his 2 weeks vacation. And that was what he grew up with. And that's what his father did. And so now you have this person who's really, really smart and wants to be a scientist, but nobody in his family has ever gone to college. And so that person will either be really super motivated by that, or they'll think it's out of their reach and impossible because no one else they know has ever done it. So it becomes a limiting belief.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah, a common limiting belief could be something about ourselves where everyone in our family is obese. Everyone's overweight. We come from a big family that has a huge ethnicity of food. I don't want to, cast aspersions on any one type of ethnicity, but I grew up Italian, and we had, 6-hour Sunday dinners. And there was nobody in my house that was thin, I mean, the food was love to us. So, and it tasted so darn good. And so when I had a weight problem as a young person, like in my, I guess I was like in my late 20s, I had a weight problem for a while. I just thought everyone had a weight problem. I didn't know that you actually could be that thin, because no one in my family was really that thin, So it's like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You're limited by what you're around. The conditioning of your life teaches you what's normal. And so now if you have a goal that you're trying to accomplish that's outside that norm, it's going to be really difficult for you because your brain is telling you, no, that's not the way you're supposed to be.
Right.
So that's the first thing, and that's the mental part. Okay. So there's 5 parts actually to a goal. And I think most people don't understand that. They just think, oh, I want it so bad. If I want it bad enough, I'm going to get it, believe, perceive, we'll get it, But there's 5 parts. And what I always have done for a really long time in my life, at least the last 30 years or so, is whenever I have a goal, I envision it as a 5-part star. And I always think that, if you think about the stars and light, you guys know I'm all about light, right? So we're all just light until we pull our points into a star. And so when we have a goal, we want to pull those points into the star and be the star of that goal. And the points are your mental, your emotional, your spiritual, your physical, and your financial. That's your whole life. If you want to be a star in every aspect of your life, you got to take your light and pull it into a star. So the first thing is your mental, and we talked about that just now, and then comes in the emotional. And that really ties in with the limiting belief system because a lot of times we're really emotionally attached to a limiting belief system. It has its roots in our self worth. It has its roots in the idea that we can't break out and be different from anyone we know because who the heck are we to do that? Um, we aren't feeling like we are anything special or unique. And every one of us is unique and has unique talents that are meant to shine in the world. So when you get to the emotional part, really clamp down on those limiting beliefs because they have their origin in that self worth. The emotional part of a goal is not reacting from those instinctive places. Well, my dad never did that, so I can't. My sister doesn't do that, so I don't know. I don't even want to tell my family I'm thinking I can do this because it's embarrassing because they won't understand because no one in my family's ever done this. Or you have some really amazing financial goals, but everyone you know is struggling financially. And so you feel embarrassed or you don't want to tell them what your goal is. You don't want to tell friends, oh, I want to make, $500,000 this year. That's my goal because they're all struggling. That's a limiting belief system. That's you telling yourself you're not worth that. And what I will tell you is if there's any millionaire or billionaire out there who has a low self-worth, please call the show because I don't really think those exist. Your financial situation is directly related to your self-worth, whether you believe that or not. If you don't think you're worth it, you will never earn it. And that is absolutely true. I have been extremely wealthy in my life and extremely poor in my life. And I can actually attribute those times, those ups and downs, to my self-worth. And I know that's where it comes from. So those emotional limiting belief systems and the self-worth plays a huge part in any goal, whether that's goals physical, trying to lose weight, or a business goal or a relationship goal, whatever it is. So try and make your thoughts not instinctive reactions, but really consciously related and the intention of what you really are trying to set out to do in your life. The third thing is the spiritual part of the star, right? The third branch is the of light is the spiritual part. Once you really feel your worth and you've overcome some limiting belief systems and you're really ready to start manifesting the goal, you have to attach it to your spirit. You have to attach it to your God energy. There is nothing that we do on this earth without God. And if you think we do, you're sadly in delusion because God is in all things and we have to be grateful and we have to connect to Him in order to be what we are meant to be in this world. So the spirit is the third part of the star. For me, that's almost the most important because when I attach my goal with spirit, it becomes a passion. And that's where the motivation and the fire really gets ignited from. And the fourth part of the star is the physical. You have to actually be able to know that you can physically attain something, that it's a practice that will be in the physical realm, in the three-dimensional world. You know what it tastes like, what it feels like. You can envision it. You can feel yourself doing it. And part of that is you can't do those things in the physical plane unless you are respective of your own physicality and physical plane. So whether your goal is something to do with your physical body and health or not, part of it has to be that you are doing something for your physical body and your health. It's all related. It's the fourth branch of the star. And if you don't do it, you're not going to shine very brightly. So you have to get to a place, and this also ties in with that self-worth. Remember I said that's going to tie in with every aspect, that you have to get to a place where you honor yourself, your physical body, that you love the physicality of yourself and you can feel it and be strong in it because you need that energy to help you accomplish the goal, whatever it is. So that fourth part, that physical, healthy, physical body has to be a part of it. If your body is not healthy, if your physical body isn't healthy and you're trying to accomplish a goal, it's going to be really difficult for you to do it. And healthy can be something different to everyone. I know there's a lot of people who watch the show who are in dis-ease or combating illness. Be as healthy as you can within that challenge if you're going to accomplish more goals or if your goal is to be healthier. In those small baby steps, be healthy. And then the fifth branch of the star is financial and business. And I don't care if you're in business for yourself or if you work for an employer, if you work for a big company and get a paycheck, whatever it is, you have to have a place where you've established a successful pattern of the way you handle money. Because if you don't do that, no matter what your goal is, you don't have the structure in place in order to back up the goal. For instance, if your goal is even weight loss, you want to get healthier, most of you are going to either do a diet plan that costs money or join an organization that costs money. So part of that 5-point star to shine has got to be the financial responsibility, because if you don't have that in place, you're going to drop out of whatever you've committed to because you don't have the funds to do it. So your life has to have an established way that you respect and handle money, and also that's attached to your self-worth and the love you have for yourself. Because when you respect the way that you handle money, what money can do for you, and the freedom it can give you, you become completely different in your self-worth, because one hand goes in the other. So we're all shining stars, and we are all light until we pull our points into those stars. And I hope that 5-part system kind of gives you guys a little bit of insight onto, how to really accomplish goals. And the phones are open now. I just was taking them off for a little while so I could finish that train of thought. So associate your goal with self-love. Associate it with, I'm going to do this because I really love myself enough to give this to myself. And that's going to erase a lot of the limiting belief systems that are holding you back in these goals. When I first started to really understand that, I remember one of the things when I had physical goals for myself to lose weight and to become more healthy and exercise. And this was even before I became really involved in yoga. I was probably in my early 40s, and my mother got very, very sick. And when I saw that part of her illness was because she comes from a generation that they really weren't into fitness. She was a World War II person. She grew up as a teenager during the war, and she, raised kids in the 50s and 60s and 70s. And so she didn't really have, like today, we're all running around going to yoga studios and eating keto and doing, kale is the new word, right? So when I saw her get sick, and I realized it was the culmination of, 60, 70 years that she really didn't take care of herself, because I was a very late life baby for her, it hit home for me. And I realized that she had choices, and that maybe her end of life would have been different if she made different choices. And that really busted the limiting belief system I had about I had to be like everyone else in my family. And so as I watched my mom deteriorate, it made me really motivated to break out of those patterns. So that's why I say everything is rooted in the self-love. If it's a business goal, hey, I want to sell 40 houses this year, or I want to kick it as a salesperson, or I want to build my business 20%, whatever business you're in, if that's the goal, it has to be established because you love yourself enough to give yourself those things. And that's really, once you connect it with self-love and then connect it with spirit and your God energy, then you're unstoppable. There's no goal you're not going to hit, because there's nothing that is coming in and destroying you and distracting your focus of it. So that's my little thing about underlying commitment and limiting belief systems. Underlying commitment are things that we do that we're actually more committed to than our goal. Like a diet is a really good example, because we'll go on a diet and then maybe you sabotage it and you eat the cake. Well, that's because you really, in your absolute heart, mind, and soul, wanted to give yourself the cake more than you wanted to have a healthy body that day. And that's really what it's about. You were more committed to the cake. And so that's an underlying commitment. It's a repetitive behavior that you're more committed to than the behavior mentally you think you want. So you have to go back and really find out, okay, why am I so committed to that underlying commitment? Why is that got a hold of me? Why is that controlling me instead of what I really would like to do for myself? And if you can bust that open, it's gone. It loses its power. So that's the idea about that. So phone lines are open. If anybody wants to call in, I'd love to hear about your experiences with goals and things like that. And also, I want to talk a little bit about a magic wand. This was another exercise that I did. Oh, Samuel, hi from Staten Island. Oh, I love sharing my gifts, and thank you so much for that compliment. That really means a lot to me. Hi, David. Hi, Angelique. Hi, Aaron. Aaron, I didn't get to answer you today. It was a very glitchy day on computer. Aaron had messaged me earlier today and was talking about some computer glitches. I had so many things happen on computers today. What should have taken me a couple of hours took me 5 hours today. Hi, Lisa. Lisa Fazio is going to be on the show in a few weeks. John Manette is watching. Love to hear about your goals, John. Paul John is watching. Kathy Canoli, wonderful baker out there. Nancy. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in the Soul Space. I'm sending you all love. Hey, Eric, Joan. So the other thing I want to talk about, this was an exercise I did. I did a class about, gosh, it must be like 7 years ago now, and I called it Destiny 555 because at the time I was really into numerology, and 5 is a number for change. So that was like, changing your destiny. So I did this class, and it was this really cool exercise that I thought up, and it was about how relating to limiting belief systems and having trouble changing our life. And I found in the dollar store these like magic wands, like kids use, like you would get in like a magic kit or when you were a princess or whatever. It was like
magic kid when you were a princess.
Yeah, same thing, right? Funny story. My niece didn't want her kids when they were really little. She didn't want her daughter to have like a princess complex. So she called. So she said she used to tell her, Annabelle, they're not princesses. They're the Real Housewives of Enchantia.
That's great.
Because she didn't want the princess syndrome. So anyway, I digress. So I went to the dollar store and I got these magic wands. And as part of the class, I was talking about self-worth and the limiting belief systems and how everything's attached to self-worth. And I handed them all a wand. And I said, okay, this is the magic wand that determines your self-worth. Now, I'm going to give you this wand today, but I want you to think about who's had this wand up until now. And it was really interesting, the answers that we got.
Like what kind of answers?
Well, like one woman actually started breaking out in tears, and she said, my sister's really the person that's been determining my self-worth, and she hasn't always been kind to me, and, I've been judged so harshly, and I really attached my self-worth to my family of origin and this sister that's been horrible.
So it's kind of like, I'll use the expression, like you're the scratch in the back of my head. Like,
yeah.
Like sometimes I'll think about what like
moment.
they would say instead of what I would say, and sometimes it's great advice. Like I like those people in my head.
Yeah, me too. We all teach
it's not
each
all
other,
negative.
Right? Good evening. You're on the Soul Space with Georgia Rose. Who's this?
Hello, Georgia Rose. How you doing?
DJ. DJ, who holds your magic wand of self-worth?
Myself, I hold the magic wand.
You do. I find that so believable. What's your question tonight, DJ? You get one.
I got one question for Tony.
Tony? Tony's not here.
Tony Walker.
Where's Tony Walker?
I'm not sure right now.
It's not Sally's turn to keep him tonight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I got another question for you, Josie Rose.
Okay. Georgie Rose.
Am I going to see my husband? Am I going to see my husband this weekend?
I think you asked me that last week. Did you see him last Saturday? I thought you were going to the movies.
No, we were supposed to go this week. We were going this weekend. Well, I just want to make sure it's correct.
Okay, I'm going to pull a card for that. Okay? Let's pull a card to see if DJ Donnie Love, his husband's coming to take him to the movies. Did he stand you up last Saturday?
No.
If he's your husband, how come you don't live together?
I don't know. It's really weird.
You said it. I didn't, for the record. Okay, so let's pull a card for your relationship. All right?
Yep.
Okay, here we go. 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 I'm going to have Sally pick it.
Okay.
Sally's got it. Oh, this card is vision. Pay attention. There are signs, symbols, and messages divinely placed in our path to guide us in the right direction. So watch for the signs, DJ Donnie Love. Because we got, watch for the signs because they're going to tell you. Look at this card. It's beautiful. When I look at the picture on this card, I'm seeing a bird, but the person's alone. So I don't know if you're going to the movies this weekend. It may be another weekend. Maybe you should go. Maybe you should go see him.
I know. I'm trying to go see him now.
Oh, good. Okay, well, call in next week and let us know how it turns out.
All right. Thanks, Dennis. Thanks for the call.
Thank you, guys.
Bye. I feel like I'm Sally Jesse Raphael advice to the lovelorn.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I gave him all these magic wands, and I think he's still on the air. These magic wands, and we all really learned from it because it was really, when you think about it, how many times we let people determine our self-worth. Like even when you're dating, you're in a relationship and maybe it's not that long, and then you break up, and you start to do a head trip on yourself because you're looking at yourself through that person's eyes. Well, you just handed them your wand, your magic wand of self-worth.
Well, how do you take it back?
You have to just take control.
Because a lot of times it's not a bad thing. A lot of times I appreciate the input of others.
Yeah, but that's in a healthy way. Like I remember one of my gurus told me a very long time ago, you should have the same regard for criticism as praise. And I didn't understand it when she told me that. And then a couple of years later, it sunk in, which happens usually with my gurus. They tell me I'm accelerated, but I feel like such a slow learner. So what she meant by that was like praise and criticism really doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is what you think and what God thinks of you, you know. And then when you connect the dots on that, you know, someone will tell you, oh, you look great, or you're beautiful, oh, that was a really great thing you did. And it's nice to hear, but you're not tied into it. And it's the same thing when someone, you know, calls you up. I had a friend of mine call me up yesterday morning and really lay into me. She was upset about something. And, you know, really like just harsh. And it didn't really bother me. In the past it would have, but it didn't this time because I kind of just said to myself, well, you know, that's her thing. You know, something was a trigger for her. I felt pretty good that I didn't do anything, so I didn't hand her my self-worth.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And also remember, like, who you're giving your self-worth one to, because if there's people that that are, you know, people who live their life in chaos and people who are used to being, you know, living in fear of humiliation, which is all an innate fear in all of us. Basically, we do a lot of stuff because we're afraid to be humiliated. So, so that's another show.
I'm glad I don't have that problem.
Yeah, but we all do to some extent. But so you know, you give your wand or whatever to self-worth to somebody, and then the next thing you know, that person you're realizing is in chaos, has been, you know, living in a situation where maybe they're threatened by humiliation all the time, or they're living in a life where they're, you know, always being held down or in deprivation or whatever. And you know, we have to have compassion and empathy for that. But at the same time, if that's the case, we can't allow that person to judge us only because they've been living in a you know, environment of judgment so long. That's all they know how to do. So I think sometimes those judgments are really unwarranted. If anybody's trying to call in and not getting through, let us know, because yeah, John says he can't get through because we just had to reboot the phones. That's why it's so quiet. Last week the phones were ringing off the hook. So give it like about 20 seconds and then try to call in again because the phone had to get rebooted. We're actually redoing our whole studio in the beginning of the summer, and I'm so excited because we're going to get all new stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be really nice in here. We're going to take down a wall.
They're not asking me to fund this, are they?
Not yet.
We're all going to have to pay a part of it. It's sort of like a cooperative. It's like a Bernie Sanders thing. Hi. Hey, is this John Minetta? You're on the Soul Space.
You got it.
I always want to say the Soul Space, like Soul Train used to be.
You just did.
Like, so turn down your whatever devices in the background because I'm getting reverb.
Okay. I mean, really?
Yeah.
I just thought I had it off altogether. Okay, let me turn
No,
down
you
a little more.
didn't.
I
How's
hear
that
like
better?
your phone's ringing and stuff.
I got to
too.
pull a card for Nancy Weems while
Hi,
I'm
John.
waiting.
Hello?
Hi,
Hello.
John. So, John,
Okay.
I got to tell you, I'm going to call John the Trailblazer because every day that's what you are. You're my little trailblazer. He, every day he sends me photos and he posts some of, he goes to a different trail every day on Long Island. He's got some kind of app on his phone. He finds all these trails, these most beautiful parks and ocean and water and all these things.
He goes there physically, or just looks?
No, he
at
walks every
places?
morning. He's
Wow.
a trailblazer.
Where do you live, John? What state?
I live
On Long
I live
Island.
now on
Oh,
the
really?
east end of the island in
Yeah.
Yaphank.
Uh-oh,
there's-
John, you
there's-
shouldn't have said that because you're going to have a million ladies calling you. It's a spiritual man who goes trailblazing. Woohoo!
But there's an app, a free app called All Trails that you
I
can
think
download.
we should make an app if you're going to put it out on the radio.
And
All
it
trails.
shows you every place that you could do a walk on a trail or wherever, all over, everywhere. You can either punch in the name of the park or put your zip code in,
Wow.
and then they just show up. It's good. I mean, you don't have to buy anything. They ask if you want to download maps and stuff, but you don't have to do anything. You just get
That's
the map.
great.
And you,
That is great.
It is.
I'm laughing
great.
because things have been going wrong in the studio since I got here.
I just don't want you to hurt yourself
And
anymore.
it's like Mercury's like going to go station because it's coming out of retrograde.
When?
And
When?
tomorrow.
Oh,
And
really?
like everything is just like insane. Like I just just dropped like 50 cards on the floor over here.
John, do you just walk by yourself? Do you have a dog? Do you?
No, I just go out by myself.
He is a dog.
No,
The puppy.
no
He's the
dog or
puppy.
nothing. I just
He's the
get up.
puppy. Okay, so I'm gonna just like have you hang out for a second, John. Don't go anywhere. I'm just picking
Okay.
a card right now for Nancy Weems. She's a top
Okay.
fan of the studio, and she wants me to pick a card for her. Should I pick angel cards for her? I'm gonna pick an angel card for Nancy because I feel like there's angels all around her. Okay, Nance, we're getting one for you. Okay, this is your card. Ooh, Nancy, have you been getting messages? The card is claircognizance. Archangel Uriel, pay attention to thoughts and ideas that come to you as they are answered prayers. Isn't that so true that, you got my notes here. Isn't that so true that, if we really focus, it's so easy to get messages. People think it's difficult, but it's not. There's signs and messages all around us. So, Nancy, that was your card. Say a little prayer up to Archangel Uriel. So, John, you definitely know about signs. I know you're always seeing stuff.
Yep. Well, it's funny because you said before, what would your goal be?
Yeah.
And I had to think about it, and I think my goal is just to continue along on, I call it the journey that I'm on.
To wake
and
up
get
breathing.
close.
Like you're happy
Yeah.
and content?
Yeah. To get closer to the universe, God, however you want to call it, spirit.
That is the goal. That is the
angel.
goal
Yeah,
of life. Yeah.
Yeah,
Evolution
yeah,
of your
and-
soul.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I would say, and I'll tell you what was a big help. I mean, that book that The Secret.
Yeah.
That I tell you, I'm not a big reader, so I'm like 3/4 of the way through it, half to 3/4. But I think it's a great book. I mean,
is.
It puts everything together that you've probably known
Right.
throughout your life,
Right.
but never thought about it the way they explain it.
It's so true
You know,
because when I read the
yeah.
book, like this is now going back 15 years ago or so, and when I read
Yeah.
it or even more, I remember thinking, well, this is the way I've been living my life. I just didn't know it was a secret. And it's true because it's like you say, it's innate in all of us to kind of do it more or less, that we have if we're connected in any way to spirit and source, we kind of live in that law of attraction. But we don't actuate it and put a structure to it. And the book really helps you do that.
Oh, absolutely. It's a great book. I mean, it's a great read. If you have any kind of open mind at all, I mean, it's a fantastic read as far as I'm concerned. I can't wait to finish it.
Great. I hope you feel
know,
that enthusiastic when my books come out.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm kidding.
I'm gonna
So,
buy it.
John,
only if I get a signed copy, though.
okay. I'm going to put you on the spot now because next Thursday I want to have you come on the show. I'm having Lois Martin, who's a very well-known numerologist, on. And you got to sit in with us and just chat with us on the show. Afterwards, Afterwards, we're a couple of us are going into the club. They're having an open mic night at Gov's. So.
Okay. You know what? We'll talk this week, but I'll definitely come on.
Okay,
Definitely.
good. So now, did you have any question or anything for us tonight? Like, I think that's a beautiful goal that you talked about. I wish everyone in the universe had that goal to just stay connected. I think we'd have no wars or strife or anything.
No, I don't. The only thing that I don't know if it's a question or whatever, but someone else told me that I was texting today.
Yeah.
Is that I felt like the last couple of days, 2 to possibly 3 days, everything has been crazy, up and down.
Yeah.
With the emotions.
It
and
has
everything.
been. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah.
Mars is moving into Aries. And that was the other reason why I chose goals and that kind of stuff for the show tonight, because we're going to have a lot of energy that tells us go, go, go. And what happens is for those of us who are really in connection and understand the things that we were just talking about on the top of the show, the energy becomes one of assertion and one where we use it to accomplish our goals and get ourselves to another place in our life. And for people who are vibrating lower in a lower energy and in negativity, it becomes frustration, anger. It becomes wanting, to humiliate people, to strike out, to grab for power. And that energy is actually going to intensify that push and pull between now and the end of the year due to the astrology. And a big part of that, like I've been saying, I sound like a broken record, that Capricorn energy of Pluto and Saturn and Jupiter. And so there's definitely a huge push-pull in the world of people who are going to act out and go into those lower energies, and people, like all of you out there watching the show that are going to go into the higher octave and use this energy to really propel themselves forward in their life.
And I definitely believe that. I mean, I can feel it, what's been taking place since I've really been, getting really, excuse me, into this journey,
Yeah.
with the reading and listening and
Right.
trying to, make heads or tails of it, to put it lightly,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. And I want to tell you something because I'm just getting some synchronicity coming in. I know that you retired about, I guess, a year or so ago. And I
Yeah.
feel like that was supposed to happen so that you could devote your focus and your time to this. Because you see how, you close a door and then another door opens. And this has been for your real spiritual development and evolution. So, that's a perfect example of setting goals and doing them with connection, and look at what's happening for you. Your life is just expanding.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. There's definitely a lot going on that,
Yeah.
I see differently, let's say, than I
Yeah.
did before,
Yeah.
and I think the way I'm seeing it now is more clearer
Yep.
for what things really are, not what you would have liked, possibly what you thought you would have liked
Right.
things to be.
And
And
remember,
not necessarily.
yeah, and remember, energy, energy follows attention. So when we're
Mm,
working and we're in a certain life, and our attention is on that, three-dimensional, 8-hour a day. I got to get here. I got to get there. We don't have the luxury of doing what you're doing now. And
right.
so, you can spend an hour or so in the morning doing the trail and doing this, and that brings you into connections. This is really a beautiful time in your life.
Oh, I will tell you this. Every day that I go out,
Yeah.
and I stop somewhere along the trail, I find a spot. You have a couple of spots that I like.
Yeah.
I sit and I just meditate.
It's
I
beautiful.
stop my walk, I sit and
Yep.
I meditate for whatever. Sometimes 10 minutes, sometimes 15.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't put no time limit on it.
No.
I just go and I sit and take it all in, and then I get up and I finish my walk.
Because you're in
You
a
know,
state
and
of being instead of doing. And that's
Yeah.
the difference between awareness and mental activity. I'm actually teaching a class in mindfulness tomorrow in my daytime job. And that's really the basis of mindfulness, is being able to go into the awareness and being able to sit on that bench and just be aware and not engage in the mental activity of it all. Because that mental activity, that monkey brain, is what brings us out of the connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe that. I definitely. There's so much to it. You know what I'm saying? But you just take it nice and easy. One step at a time.
Yep.
And it works.
Well, I'm
It all
really
works.
proud of you because you're like the poster boy for Zenkuda. You're getting it. You're living Zenkuda, man. So great job, John. I'm so proud
Yeah.
of you. And I'm so glad you're happy because that's such a big deal,
Yep.
Yeah.
A lot happier. Yep. A lot more awareness.
So I got to
on
pull
things.
some cards. Think about coming on next week so everyone can put a face to your beautiful voice.
Okay. Can you pull one card for me tonight? you
Oh, of
think?
course. Let me pull one. I'm going to pull an angel card for you.
Okay.
Oh, wow. This really kind of fits, I think. It's Archangel Ariel, and it says courage. Be courageous and stand up for your beliefs. So whatever's going on for you, give yourself the time and be courageous. Stick in your resolutions. Be resolute in your courage.
Right.
You are a warrior, my trailblazer.
Okay. Oh yeah. We will talk this week though, but I will come on next week. Okay.
Okay, cool.
We'll get the logistics on. We'll figure out the logistics. Okay.
Okay, cool. Good night,
All right.
John.
Great talking to you. Good night, Georgia, Sally. Bye.
Bye, John.
Carrie Ann, thank you. She said she was watching one of our videos on the YouTube replay. So if anybody misses the show or comes in halfway, you can always go to. Was that a huge energy? I just had a huge pop in my.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I just can't believe everything that's happened on this show tonight.
No, it was me too.
I just had a huge pop in my earphone, and I think it was just. I think
it was the hanging up of the phone or something.
Yeah, I think it was just
so
cosmic
loud.
energy. Sometimes that happens. Carrie Ann was saying she was watching us on replay on YouTube. So if you can't watch the videos live, you can always go on Zenkuda on YouTube and see all the videos. There's like 70 videos up there. Kathy, this card's for you. She asked for a card. This is for Kathy Canoli. Kathy. I think you were having a hard day today because I noticed your post about the energy. And you got to stay in your power. And look what your card says. It says, take back your power, Archangel Raziel. And what it's saying is, I'm going to read it and just keep the camera on, Sal. It says, use your God-given power and intention to manifest blessings in your life. So if you're looking for changes in your life, look at that beautiful angel with those wings. My goodness. So Archangel Ariel, bring her in tonight before you go to bed, Kathy, and allow her to bring you some blessings. Okay. So who else do we have on here? Nancy Williams was just, I think this was in reply to what John and I were talking about, how grounding nature can be. Definitely go out there and go in nature because it's so grounding. I've been doing that more and more with this beautiful weather. I've had the luxury of being close to home, and my dog is absolutely loving it. Okay, this card is for Betsy Budis, and this is Gifts from God. Archangel Sandalphon, we angels bring you gifts from your creator. Open your arms to receive. Sally, I just want to put the camera on that card for her. That's for Betsy. So Betsy, if you were expecting anything or you've been working on manifesting anything, please keep up that beautiful work and believe, because it's telling you that you're going to have a gift from God. Visualize, definitely visualize, all right? And then I'm going to pick a card for Janine and Monica. And then if anybody wants to call into the show, I'd love to talk to somebody else before we sign off tonight. And if you guys can do me a favor, if you like this show and you're enjoying it, please share it. You can share the video. You can go on govsradio.com or Govs Comedy Club on Facebook or Zenkuda on Facebook, and just share the video on your pages so that we get some viewers out here. All right. This is for Janine Jamelle. Janine, overcoming difficulties. Well, sweetie, if you're working on anything, Archangel Jeremiel says the worst is now behind you and you are surmounting any previous challenges. And look at the amount of light on that road. It's got like a feather that almost looks like a pathway. Okay. Good evening. This is Georgia Rose, and you're on the Soul Space.
Hello, it's Cannoli.
Hey, Kathy Cannoli. Anybody wants to place a bakery order? My friend Kathy is the most magnificent baker. She actually
Is
made
her
us.
last name really Cannoli?
No, but we call her that because she bakes.
I was like, no pressure, right? Like you just had to be that for a living.
Yeah, no, she's the baker. So she actually made us cupcakes once with bacon on them.
I did. Candied bacon.
Candied bacon. Everybody, I think they sucked them down in 2 seconds at my house. So how have you been doing, Cash?
Yeah, crazy. It's so funny that you said about the manifesting, because I literally was texting a friend today from work about manifesting a new job. She gave me a book about moonology, and she's like, use your magic rocks, girl.
And yes, and on the 9th is a full moon, and it's in Virgo, which is actually our daily routines and stuff like that. So definitely a good time to manifest. We're getting there. That's Sunday, I think, is the full moon, right? Sunday's the 9th. Right. So definitely do that. So I pulled the card for you. Do you have a question for me? I can answer something for you if you want.
I don't know.
So
I was just manifesting a new job. I applied for actually my the job I left before I left New York because they were hiring. And I don't know if they hired anybody yet, but I'm like, why didn't they just pick me? Because I left on good terms.
They should actually.
I know the job. I know the product. I know the routine. Come on.
So now you were talking about the energy. How are you finding the energy out there?
The last 2 weeks have been, it's insane. I just don't like it. It's crazy. It's too much.
Yeah, there's a very intensified energy. Unfortunately, sweetie, we're going to have that probably for a lot of March. I have a March astrology video on YouTube that you guys can watch. It's actually a time when we have a lot of fiery energy coming in because Mars is going into Aries, Uranus is in Aries. There's a lot of things that are working behind the scenes, like combustible kind of energy. A lot of things about relationships changing as well. So the best use of this energy when you have this much combustion is exactly what you're trying to manifest as far as a new job goes. Use it to really show the universe you're working hard to find that new job. Send your resume to as many places as you can. Go for as many interviews as you can. Be busy in the doing of it and show the universe that you're really putting everything, all efforts forward. And that'll be answered because that's the energy now. Mars and Aries is a go energy. And and the universe, and the universe wants us to use it for assertion, but people in a lower octave are going to use it for aggression. And you're going to see a lot of that, especially this month and then in and out towards the end of the year. Happens again really a lot in the fall, right around election time. So this is going to be a really unusual election. Yeah.
Crazy.
So, but
it's funny about what John said about the signs also.
Yeah.
Well, I met a guy, And I've been wondering, like, is he? No, I don't know, dateable, the right guy to be dating right now. And it's funny because I saw a license plate as I was pondering that thought. I was on my way to get some lunch, and somebody's license plate said IBEW, and he's International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers.
Oh, how funny.
I was like, I wonder if that's a sign,
Yeah. Well, just use your discernment because, Mercury is coming out of retrograde. And a lot of times when we meet people during Mercury retrograde, it changes. Either,
Right.
in whatever way something will change. So just go slow, and really use your discernment. Well, I always tell people when they're dating and they're not sure about someone, really observe him. How does he react when something doesn't go his way? How does he react when,
Right.
the tables were late in the restaurant or someone cuts him off in traffic? Does he have good relationships with his children? Does he have good relationships with people in his life? Is his structures in his life in place? Those are the things you want to look at because I think they speak to character.
Yeah, he's a pretty stable guy.
That's good. That's good.
So,
Because we get too caught up in the cuteness.
Yeah, no, he's pretty stable. I'm cautious. You know me.
Yeah.
I've had enough with crap. So.
So I'm glad you called into the show.
All right.
And I'm going to pick a card for Monica now. She's online and wants me to pick a card for her.
Okay. All right.
Good luck, Kathy. That job's going to come
Thanks.
through. Just do some full moon manifestation. And like I said, use the energy that's in the universe now, and you're going to get your reward.
Okay.
I can feel that. Okay?
I hope so. All
right.
right. Love and light to everybody out there.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, Monica, this card is for you. For some reason, there's that pop again. It's every time someone hangs up. Monica, I'm going to use a different deck because I'm being told to pick a card from this deck for you. I don't know why, but... So, Monica, your card is Watch, and it says, watch for a miracle. Coincidences are divinely inspired moments designed to remind us that a higher power is guiding our lives. So just, watch. You want to be really looking for the signs, not in a bargaining way. A lot of times we'll be, being in traffic and want an answer to something. I'll be like, okay, if I see the number 7 4 times, that's my answer. That's bargaining. That's not seeing signs. So just, look for the signs in a very just awareness way without like the mental going into it. Okay. Carrie Ann, Nancy Weems. Mary Ann is out there. David, Betsy. You're welcome, Betsy. Nancy Weems wants to know, how do you shield yourself from negative forces? Okay. So I never really believed in negative forces very much. And then I recently had an issue after doing a healing where I had some very, very heavy energy. And I actually went for a healing myself and I felt a lot better. So shielding yourself from negative energy, I don't like to use the word shielding from negative. I have my own philosophy about that, so I'm going to give you my answer on a personal basis, and then you can always research what answer resonates best with you, Nancy. But I just stay in love. I keep my vibration really high, and by that I mean that I don't allow a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety, a lot of negative things in my life. I even censor my media because I take my spiritual work very, very seriously, and I feel that one of the reasons I am put into this life is to be a clarion for light and messages. And so I censor my media. You will come to my home and there's very rarely a TV on. If it is, it's kind of like a movie being run. I don't really watch series, episodic television. I don't listen to the news unless it's to turn something on or ask Alexa, what's happening in the world. The music that I listen to is extremely censored. I won't listen to things that are violent, depraved, or anything like that. I don't listen to reality television if it's arguing and fighting. And the reason I do all that is because that's the negative. And so instead of having to protect yourself from that, you have a choice in your life to eliminate a lot of that. I don't really have people in my life that are violent or aggressive or low energy. I really don't. So that's how I don't allow negative in, by keeping my vibration really high. So the answer really is love. If your vibration is super high in love, then you really don't have to be too concerned about too much negative because it's like you're Teflon, people will talk about crystals and incantations and oils and all of these things as protection. And while I do carry certain talismans, because I do believe there is evil in the world, and unfortunately we live in a very soulless world, and there's a lot of chaos out there, and especially for those of us light workers who put ourselves into media, you're putting yourself in the line of fire oftentimes. But I don't do anything to shield myself from it, because that is acknowledging it's there as something I need to be shielded from. Instead, I go into love. You know, it's like, I think it was Mother Teresa, who they would invite her to, you know, an anti-war rally. And she would say, I will never go to an anti-war rally. If you invite me to a peace rally, I will go to that. So you don't want to acknowledge the lower energy, the negativity. You want to stay in the high vibe. Just like when I had cancer on one side of my body, and I didn't acknowledge that side of my body. I only stayed in the healthy side. And I refused to acknowledge the other side. And I said, I'm just going to amplify that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
You'd think, because they tell you to focus on the tumor.
Well, if you're putting
You know?
light there, sure. But you don't want to focus on the illness. You know, you don't want to, because what I had just said before, energy follows attention. So whatever you give your attention to, that's where you're going to focus on. And I see a lot of people, Nancy, regarding negative forces, I see a lot of people in the light worker world that are in fear of the other side. And that's going to bring in more fear. Fear is the darkness. That's the negative force, is fear. Anything that's going to be dark is going to attach to your fear. It's going to make you feel like you're not worth anything. It's going to bring in whatever your trigger is in your life and amplify that. That's darkness, you know? So,
Yeah, and like just phrasing things. Like I remember when my kids were little, my older son was, you know, like a really busy wiggly worm that was like all over the place. And so I didn't want to be like, you know, don't jump on the couch. So like,
Right.
like I had like a list of things that like if he did that day, but I
Yeah.
made them like really positive. Like, and my sister was always making fun of me because like she'd read the list and it would be like, I was kind to the furniture today.
that's hysterical.
I know, but it worked because rather than like making him feel
Be kind-
negative
right.
about jumping on the,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah, no, I get it.
Yeah.
Or
Be
like, you know,
kind to
or
the
like be
furniture.
kind to the floor. Don't sit on the furniture. Like, yeah, I'm very conscious of that. Like when I write proposals or I write someone's astrology chart out or whatever, I always really try and stay in the affirmation of it, assume positive intent, you know. But I think the biggest negative force you have to shield yourself from is fear. And fear is the destroyer. Fear and shame. Shame is also the destroyer. And I think that's how negative forces in the world work on that. If you think about it, and I don't really want you to think about negative forces, but if you think about it at all, almost everything in your life that's been negative probably was either rooted in fear or low self-esteem. So, which is fear as well. So, you know, that's kind of what happens, and that's what you have to just go into your high vibe. I'm going to pick a card for Marianne Sabatino. And hi, Tracy.
You have a question from a David. I'm not sure if I'm reading it right, so I want you to read it.
Yeah, I think he's talking about Arizona.
Okay.
Yeah, we gave them a reading. David, yes, I believe you're moving with your mom and brother. So, definitely so. This card is for, who am I picking? Marianne. Marianne, I'm actually going to pick 2 cards from you, one for each deck, because they're just telling me to do that. Marianne, do you have or somebody out there, do you have a Larry? I'm getting the name Larry coming in for somebody. So if that's for you, either comment on the screen or give me a call into the show. Okay, second card for you, Marianne. Okay. Marianne, your cards are Watch. It's the same card that I got for Monica. And I think I spoke to you on the show a couple of weeks ago, and I was telling you how you were getting signs from your husband, but you weren't tapping into them. So watch for the signs, because there's a miracle. Coincidences are divinely inspired moments designed to remind us that a higher power is guiding our lives. And this is really in line with the other card that I just pulled for you. It told me to pull 2 cards, and you got Watch and you got Divine Order. And the Divine Order card is Archangel Raguel, who actually is an angel of peace. Raguel reconciles things. And it says, everything is how it needs to be right now. Look past the illusion and see underlying order. And this is kind of making me think something that I'm going to say, and I please don't want to offend anyone. I just give the message as it comes. Um, I know it's a tragedy that you have lost your husband, and I know you're obviously in grief about that. But I'm feeling like there was a bigger reason for this and a divine order to it. So if you can look beyond the grief and find the reason of there's something you're meant to do in your life that you would not have done if he was still here. Now, that could be helping other people who are in grief. It could be something that you're now liberated and not restrained to do anymore. But I'm really feeling strongly that this is a divine order. And please go into that energy. Just open to it a little bit if you can. I know you're in heavy grief, but if you can open up past that, I think there are people you're meant to work with and help out there. And when we are in grief, the only antidote for grief is gratitude. And if you can go into a space where something can come from your husband's death where you use it to help others, I think that's the key for you. And I think it's coming out in the cards that say watch for signs and divine order. That's what it's speaking to me about. So take that with you tonight. And please, again, I don't mean to offend or negate anyone's grief. I just really want to put that to you because I think it's really important. It's an important message for you. Try and reach beyond it. There are people who can benefit from your experience if you can just get your strength a little bit up. Okay? Nancy said she was called Larry before. Oh, okay. So that's probably why I was in your energy field when I pulled cards for you. And I was actually reading. Nancy, what I'm going to say to you is this card speaks to me for you as well, the Divine Order card. Follow your heart and soul, which I think you've been doing. At times you might have a little bit of doubt about your path, but please don't, because I feel when I go into the line of energy, I can feel the energy and then I see a beautiful burst of light. So it's almost like you were in more darkness than you are now, and then you come into light. You're in light now, but you sometimes are going a little bit back into darkness. But there's a huge burst of light coming in. It's almost like you're in this tunnel that's getting lighter and lighter, and then all of a sudden this beautiful light comes through. So please pursue whatever this particular goal is in your drastic change. It is meant to be, and that drastic change is actually going to put you in a place of complete alignment with soul purpose. So please take that with you. It just came into me now. Hi, Mel. Hi, Lauren. Retrograde is actually over. It's till the 29th stationary, but you're going to feel a lot better when the end of this week. Conventional viruses, I think he means coronavirus. Coronavirus, I'm going to tell you, and if you watch any other mystics, modern day mystics or healers or inspirational beings, the coronavirus is going to be with us a really long time, at least a few more months. I think they're going to find the cure when, for a little bit when Saturn goes into Aquarius, because it's going into Aquarius and then it retrogrades back into Cap. You're going to probably hear more about a cure. But I think we're going to hear a lot more about coronavirus because it's not about the virus. It's about the structures behind the virus. Because, we're watching the virus and everybody's in fear, but it's not about the virus. It's about the fear and the collapsing of structures of how we deal with these things. That's where the lesson lies. It's not in the illness. It's in the structures and the fear behind it. Don't fear this virus. Just take your precautions. Because the world is being amplified in fear, and that's changing the vibration of the world. So this is it for the show. I just want to say before I sign off, I've got a lot of guests coming on between now and the first week of April. Next week I have Lois Martin, beautiful numerologist, going to come on, and John Minetta might join us in the soul space. And the following week that's the 19th, I have, who do I have on the 19th? Oh, Lisa Fazio, beautiful artist. I can't forget my soul sister, Lisa. I love you so much. She's going to come on and talk to us about her soul space and some of the art that she does to awaken you spiritually. And then on the 26th, excuse me, I always sneeze at the end of the show. On the 26th, thank you. On the 26th, I have Gina Califano, who's going to come on and talk to us about essential oils. And she even has some ideas on how you can use essential oils, against viruses and things like that. And then on April 2nd, I have Who do I have on? Oh, Phoenix Green. He is amazing. My very good friend, Phoenix Green. You guys are going to love him. We're doing a show about the vibration of the universe and the Schumann resonance. If you've never heard about that, Google it. You're going to love what we have to tell you about that. So we've got a lot of great shows coming up. Thank you all for supporting my work. You can find me on Zenkuda Official on Instagram, Zenkuda on Facebook and YouTube, and of course, every Thursday at 6:30 in our beautiful soul space. Thank you, Zenkuda community. Send love out to everybody.